Hello, welcome back to Bald and Board Games. I'm Bald.
I'm bored.
And we're going to teach you how to play Kanban EV by Lacerda and Eagle Griffin Games.
Yeah, feel free to check through the rest of our YouTube channel. We have 6 of these already up, including this one. And we have a playthrough coming through after every single one. So you'll have a how-to for a Lacerda game. We have the playthrough. Bot Factory, we were able to play through twice.
Yeah.
The rest we just played through once. And
Steve won both times.
That's true.
The first game was close.
It's all about the talking.
Yeah. What? All of the talking.
That's how I won the first game.
Oh, yeah.
It's speech bubbles.
Yeah.
But yeah, feel free to check out all of those. Let us know your favorites. If you've played any of the Lacerda games, either comment on the YouTube videos or send us a message on IG. And we have 2 more coming, so be prepared.
On Mars and CO2. So on Mars, we are playing this week. So when you're seeing this video, tune in tomorrow for On Mars. It'll be on Twitch at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Yes. Also, if you're watching this video on the 18th when it went live, this Friday in 2 days, check out. We're going to have a brand new set of box openings and others. So we're not going to tell you what it is yet. Maybe we'll wait.
If you stay tuned to our Instagram, you already know.
It's true.
So if you don't, you don't know. So guess what? Go follow us on Instagram at Bald and Board Games. And while you're at it, follow us on Discord. You should be subscribed here already. And on Twitch, obviously.
Definitely.
All right.
Yeah. And if you're wondering what is a Kanban EV.
Kanban EV. Kanban EV is this. I'm not going to read you the big flavor text intro on the rule book. You can read that yourself, or you can watch our playthrough where I go through all of that. But at its core, what is Kanban EV?
Kanban EV is a car factory, but specific to electric vehicles.
EV.
Yeah, so you're working through different action phases, collecting parts, collecting designs, similar to Bot Factory, but a little more extensive. And in the end, you're trying to craft and then upgrade different cars.
Absolutely. All right. So we're going to dive right in with the board setup. So we definitely have little handy notes over here because there's a lot going on. So first up, we have Sandra and her reference card. So up here, you're going to have a little reference card for Sandra, which helps you know what she does at each location when she evaluates and the actions that she does, which we'll explain later. So for a 2-player game, put this up here with the red side face up. Then take Sandra, put her right down here in her office in the administration section. All right. Next, you're going to be setting out your award tile. So that's all of these green tiles here. There's a bunch of these in the box. You're going to shuffle them up. And for a 2-player game, you're going to deal 2 to each location. Boom, 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 boom. And then you're going to put a generic speech token on top of each. Only 1 for each location. Easy enough. Next, we have the car parts, which is over here. So these are all of the car parts in the supply. So separate those out by color. Then you're going to grab 1 of each, couple them up in your hand, and randomly drop 3 out for the recycling area. So 3 of these car parts will start in the recycling area. Then you have over here, some vouchers. These are supply vouchers. You have some books for your book supply, which we used for the extra generic speech tokens as well. And lastly, we have, lastly, sorry, we just got them playing an entire game of this. My mouth is kind of tired. We have the factory goals. So for here, here, and here. So down here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you have 2, 3, 4, 5. You're going to shuffle these and put out 2 at random. All right. So we have 2 and 5. The rest go in the box. And then you're going to take, so these are the brown ones. Let's shuffle these bad boys up. Do the same thing. Take 2. Boom. And boom. I did it by accident, but you're going to arrange these with the lesser on top and the greater on bottom. Honestly, for a 2-player game, it doesn't really matter. I think it's more for aesthetics. And you're going to do the same thing for this.
I got 5 done before I got 2.
It didn't matter in game. Like, it doesn't. It's like,
well, it's not possible to do one before the other.
I know. So it's like, why is it? Like, put them out there however you want. In the book, it says to put them out with greater on the bottom, lesser on top. Oh, look at that. Another 2 and 5. There you go. And then on each of those, for a 2-player game, you're going to put out 1 generic speech token. For games with greater player counts, you will put out 2, hence the 1/2 on these. Boom! Those are your factory goals. All right. Next, we're going to get into each of the individual areas and how to set up those. So first up, we're going to start on my side. We have the research and development section. So on the research and development section, pretty easy. First, you have this board here, which is going to go on top of the track based on your player count. So we're using 2, so there's 2 people that are shown here. So put this side up. You're going to put your pace car on any one of these 2 areas that are marked with the stripes. You're going to put down your calendar token on the calendar spot, and this token with the arrow on that first arrow spot there, not on the one on the location that is listed. And cool. That is it for those. Oh, I lied. You have your car part values here, which are going to go in this last section here. As these get upgraded, these move up this track. Of course, they start off at 0. Next, we're going to come down to the design section. Simpler than this spot up here. It just involves these tiles. Shuffle these bad boys up. Then you're going to be taking these collectively and you're going to be putting them out on here, loading up all 8 spaces. And you're going to be doing with the design side up. The upgraded side looks like this. You want that face down because these aren't upgraded yet. So put those out, all 8. And then you should have 3 equal piles here. So let's just even those bad boys out. Boom, 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 boom. All right, so you have your first location and your central locations back here. So as these tiles get used up, you'll pull from these first 2 stacks first to fill everything out. And once these are gone, you'll start using that bad boy at the back, which we will go over later as well. And I think, based on my notes, that's it for my side. What you guys?
So on the right side here, starting top to bottom, first we have the car section, the assembly line.
The car section.
So for each of these, you'll see there's a box associated with the 5 colors of the cars available. And they come with this nice tray. We obviously upgraded, got the metal cars versus stick figure cars, whatever it comes with.
Yes, little hand-drawn pictures of cars.
So what you do is you take the equivalent color, so red, gray, green, blue, and black.
Steve did great with those. He's bad with colors. He did a great job. Good job, Steve.
There are enough of variance and shading.
And
shading.
I know, I'm saying and shapes.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
I hear you say shading.
So you put those down, and you put a second of the exact same color card directly above it. Yep. You will notice there are some like dotted paths here and things. You can lay them out exactly as it lines up, or you can just put it however, as long as it's in the spot it's supposed to be in. Additionally, there's 2 little markers here. That is this set of tiles. So there are 5 tiles here. You shuffle them up. You're going to choose 2, flip them here. You keep the other 3 face down off the side of the board. Those will be used later. And for these, as you can see, blue and red, whatever number's in the bottom right-hand corner, you're going to put that many thought bubbles in the thought bubble space. So we have 1 there for red. We're going to have 3 for blue.
Don't you dare put those backwards. I hate you. There we are.
And that finishes the setup for that section. Moving into the car part section. As you can see here, we have the 6 colors of car parts. It matches the symbols that Nick explained in his section, as well as all the ones over there. You take this deck of gray cards with the little forklift symbol.
Kanban orders.
Yes. Shuffle those up. You're going to flip one and place it down. Whatever this shows is, it doesn't matter how you orientate this right now for this step, but you're going to take those parts and put them in the appropriate location. As you can see here, there's no green. There happens to be 2 gray blacks. So that one will just remain empty. This card will then go to the bottom of the stack, and you keep the stack off to the side for now. Moving on down into the final section, which is our administration kind of final goals section and meeting goals section. You have this little marker here that will indicate, this is not the meeting marker. You have this marker here that will indicate end of week.
There it is.
That's what it is. The meeting marker is up in the top left, which it goes here when it moves down. This is end of week. So when Sandra does some certain things, which we'll explain, it comes down here and moves over. You then take this deck of cards, shuffle them up.
I think they're called performance cards. They're essentially meeting goals.
Yeah, milestones, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, now that's
ways to earn points. Yeah, there we go. So shuffle them up. Deal 4 of them out. So 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Nice. Yep.
The fun thing about these cards,
the fun thing,
you look at them and you're like, okay, there's a lot going on. In the bottom right-hand corner, there's a number. This game gave us a nice little chart that goes through all of those numbers. So you can easily just be like, oh, number 7, what does that do? And you can reference this chart. For the next thing I'm about to show you, there's a chart for that as well in this little book. So it's a separate book from the rule book, but it gives you a lot of the graphics and explains what they all mean. So we have these 4 meeting goals here. Those will come into play a little later. The final thing is you have the end of game final goals. That is this whole stack here. So same thing, shuffle them up, pick one, place it down. That's just going to sit there for the whole game. Again, the numbers are in the book, and it tells you what they all mean. For this, you have 3 different goals on one card, versus up here, you only have 1 goal per card.
Nice. Oh, I was just looking at them.
Oh.
Just looking while you're talking. Keep myself busy. Yeah.
And that finishes the administration section.
That's the board setup.
And that is the board setup. It literally is that simple.
Yeah. Now we got the peeps. A lot of little bits and parts, but each section isolated is pretty simple to get set up and get going. You can honestly get it set up in probably less than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Once you get out of the box.
As long as you know your colors and shapes.
Yes. Yes. If you're not paying attention in kindergarten, you are screwed.
All right. So next up, we have player boards. Player boards, pretty simple. For those of you who played other Lacerda games, you'll know this kind of style. They give you a little tray similar to this. Has all the pieces of one color in it. I'm playing as purple, Nick's playing as orange. So all of your tokens, your meeples, your little identifiers, all come in this little case. For our game here, we have the expansions. So there's little stars on some of these. Since we're not going to do the expansion in this how-to, we'll just leave those off to the side. For the setup of the player board, first thing, you have your meeple. You can just put that above your player board for now. It'll go onto the game board once we get started. You're going to have 5 speech bubbles. 4 of those speech bubbles will stay off to the side. 1 will go into the first slot where you can see that little marker. You're going to have 5 lock symbols. On your board, there are going to be 5 lock symbols. You're just going to put the locks on each of them. So bottom right corner, bottom left, the last speech bubble, the top right, the location here.
There it goes.
And
amazing.
On top of this token. So you can see there's a token that matches the symbol inside here. You're going to put the token there and put the final lock on top. Across the top line here, you have a bunch of little square identifiers that are giving you different symbols that you can earn throughout the game. So speech tokens, moving across and banking actions. You have your wildcard parts. You have your books for training, and then kind of a wild card. You pick one of the 5 or 4. This one specifically has to be in the end section. The other 4 you can put in whatever order you want. I'm not sure you can just rearrange those mid-game, or you got to put them out however you want at the beginning of the game.
I don't think so. It doesn't say you can rearrange them. I think just the beginning of the game, you put them out in whatever order you want to put them out in.
It could matter because these numbers of what garage things are in could matter. Depending on certain goals. But yeah, just lay those out. Additionally, you'll have this marker here that has a 1 and a 2. Keep it on the one side to start, but that'll again will just sit off to the side of your board. Then you will have a bunch of other.
Just cover that they have a voucher to start.
Oh yes.
Sorry. Before you move away.
Yes. Each player will start with 1 wildcard parts voucher.
Yeah.
On the game board for players, each player will have 5 of these tokens that'll go on the 5 different locations right on the center X spot. So it's not always on the leftmost, which is on the right side of the board is the leftmost. On the left side of the board is the rightmost. Then at the very top, you're going to put your final circle marker on number 15.
Mm-hmm.
On the left-hand side over by Nick, you'll have your +1 symbol that starts in the kind of 0 empty space. You'll have your turn identification marker sitting right up top there. That'll get moved once we actually start the pre-phase.
Certifications.
Certifications, good call.
Yes, they are, yeah.
And that is all of the parts for us as players. Again, Sandra just has her little meeple that sits right there in the administration office to start.
Yeah.
And then we get into how to start this game.
All right. So before we even start the game, there is a new player, new employee orientation. So first you have to determine who is going to be the first player. And you can do this randomly. You can take any parts or pieces or meeples and kind of shake them up and drop them out and decide who comes in, whatever. Or you can roll dice like Steve and I like to. Okay? In that turn order, the first person, we'll say Steve is going first, gets to choose on this first set of the certification track where to put their certification marker. Steve, which one would you like?
Bank it up.
He's going to go with the banking shift. So that's the spot here. You will get the benefit for doing this. So Steve, we'll go up by 1. I'm going to choose the book as I typically do. So I'm going to take this book and put it on my player board. Cool. All right. So now in certification order, which is going to be from right to left. So whoever's further along in certification, whoever's more trained, will get to go first. That happens to be me. I will get to choose a design and a part from the supply. So I'm going to take this red design and I'm going to take this blue part. Put it over here. These will shift. And now Steve will get to choose a part and a design. And a word, when choosing a design, you can at this time, you can choose from the top of the stacks as well as these 8 places.
So I'm going to choose this one.
Okay.
And I'm going to choose a bright pink.
All right. And now Steve chose this part or this design here. At this moment at the beginning, he does not get the benefit associated with that like you typically would during the game. So move those down, refill. The top will always refill from there, bottom will always refill from there, yada, yada, yada. Good to go. All right. And that is the new employee orientation. You have your design you're going to be working towards, your part that will hopefully help you out. So the way the game works has a very simple structure. Each round equals 1 day in this world of Kanban EV. During that day, you will move your meeple onto a location, and then you will take actions. So everyone moves their meeple onto a spot in turn order, and then everyone takes actions in turn order. This continues round and round until this marker here and this marker here, one of them is at 2 and one of them is at 3. When that happens, you're gonna finish the round, and then you do end game scoring.
Which there is a potential they could both hit 3 on the same turn.
True.
Still triggers end game scoring.
Very true. Yeah, probably very rare instance, but very true. We haven't hit that yet.
No, because Sandra would have to like trigger as that trigger.
She'd have to come. Yeah, exactly.
So it's possible, but unlikely.
All right.
So yeah, for how to do the movement, as Nick explained, it's going to go in turn order. The first turn order is based on this little indicator down here. So Nick as orange would move first. He would place on one of these 5 sections. Actually, he cannot place in the bottom section because Sandra's there. Correct. So one of these 4 sections, either the top or the bottom location.
Over there.
So +2, +3 are the 2 markers. We'll explain what those mean here in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say I'm going to go here.
All right.
So once that's been settled, you'll then go top to bottom through the players. So I would go do my turn. You would just move your thing sideways, or if you're standing up, you just tilt it down. The players would go through. Sandra does not go the first turn, but then the second turn, she would also go. And then again, you're just going to cycle through that. So when all 3 have gone, then again, I would move, Nick would move, Sandra moves, however it works. There are a few restraints in how you can move. First restraint is wherever Sandra is in a 2-player game, you cannot enter that location. So if she's down here in the administrative office, cannot use administration. If, for example, she is located here, and let's say it's like this. I move here, Sandra moves into mine, that's fine. She has that ability. Nick can then move where Sandra was because she's no longer in that location. Mm-hmm. So like again, like a lot of the Lacerda games that use Sandra or Kronos, similar style where she's kind of closing down a location, but if you're already there, she can't do anything about it. Mm-hmm. And then moving on to the work phase. So the work phase is after everyone is moved, means you do your actions. So unlike other games like Bot Factory where you move, do your actions, the next player moves, does their actions, etc., this one, every player, and then Sandra included, have to move to where they're going to be first, and then you go back through turn order and do the actions. So in this exact example we just had, where I moved down here, then Sandra moved, and then Nick moved up here, I was the first player to move. Nick is now the top player on the game board. His actions go first, then Sandra's, then mine. Yep. So that is something to pay attention to when you're moving, to know, one, where's Sandra going, because that could help or hinder you. But then also...
usually hinders you.
Most likely. Also knowing, do you actually want to action first? Not necessarily move first, but actually do the actions first. So you do that again, do that over and over again, and then we get to endgame, which we'll get to eventually in this video.
Yeah. So now we're going to cover the actions at every location, but first up, we're going to go over one action in particular that is at every single location, and that's training. So these tracks here, where we have our little discs, that's the training track. So at every single location, you can use your shifts. So you have 2 shifts, 3 shifts, 4, yada, yada. So you can use your shifts to train if you so choose. Every shift that's used will move you ahead 1 on this track. So here, if Steve is at this 2 mark for training, and he wants to use all of his shifts for training, you go 1, 2. He doesn't have to use all of his shift for training. He can use 1 and then do 1 of those down there. If he was here at the 3, and you use all 3 shifts for training and got down to this area, the moment that you pass this arrow into this bottom white section, you are now considered certified. When certified, you will remove the lock on your player board that's associated with the area that you're at, and you could potentially have other benefits as well, as in actions for that area, which we will cover later. After being certified, you're not done though. There is advanced training that you can do. So on a later turn, or the same turn if you can continue to train all the way up to this final location there. When you reach that final location, if you're the first person to do so, you will collect the generic speech token that's there, place it off the side of your board, or use it as you see fit. You will get to then look at whatever award tokens are here and choose one of them. I'll take the VP. It's an immediate award bonus.
It's PP.
Sorry. PP. They're production points. I'm going to take the PP, or Steve is, I guess. So moves him ahead by the 2. This is an immediate bonus. You don't save it. You don't keep this. Once you take it, you use it. It goes back in the box. Done deal. There are other ways that you can train other than using your shifts. So as you saw at the beginning of my turn, I had a book. So if I had a book from the previous turn, you can use this book to then push your thing forward. Here, I'm using my dial as an example, so we'll assume that I'm here to do so. So I used a book to move one forward instead of my shifts. Those books can be used before or after your shifts are completed. Easy enough. That can be done in every single section. And you can train more than once each turn.
Yeah. The one call out is for using the books, it is a wild, so you're not spending a shift to do so.
Correct.
But you have to use it at the location you're at.
Yes.
You can't use a book and be like, hey, I'm going to use a book to train down here. you have to use it at the location you're currently residing in.
The one exception is administration, which we'll cover later, and why that is. Yeah, actions are only ever done in the location that you're at. That'd be insane. I'm just going to read up on assembly, even though I'm down here in the design department.
Yeah, it could have been
just sleeping on the job.
Could have had an assembly book in the design department.
Just prepping for it. Okay. Another thing to note, when you do get that certification, you will end up moving this little certification token forward on the board. So technically, Steve here got the certification, so purple would move ahead, and he would get to choose one of these 4 spots. When doing so, he would get the benefits. So we'll say that he
Bank it up.
You want the bank? He wants the bank. He's going for the bank. So he went to the bank. Okay. And that's where these factory goals come into play. Anytime you get a certification and you move this forward, you will end up choosing not only one of the 4 spots, but if you're the first person to get into an area with one of these factory goals, you collect that speech token as well. We'll leave that there for now. You're not quite there yet. All right. So that's training. Next, we're going to go into, I think, each area. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Boom. Oh, no, actually, we have the golden rule. I apologize. Golden rule before all that. So golden rule. You heard me mention using a book that you got in a previous turn. That is because with our vouchers, our books, and our parts, any of these that are collected in a turn, you put off to the side of your board until the end of your turn. These are not available until your next turn. So once your turn ends, you can then place them on your board, able to be used. What we did in our game is we kind of had these turned upside down, showing that they were unavailable. However, you denote that you cannot use them on your turn. That includes recycling. You cannot gain a part and then choose to recycle it in the same turn. Not available. The only thing that you use the moment you get it are these generic speech tokens. The moment you get one of these, if you have an open area for your speech tokens, you will place that there and you will turn that in. If all of your open areas are filled and you get a generic speech token, just place it off to your side of your board until you use one of these, and at the end of whatever that action is, then you would cash in immediately to get the new one. All right, now we can talk about how to actually play this game. So first up is the design phase, and we're going to go in a bottom to top order. That way you know what you have to kind of do first before you can get a car, yada yada. It's the way it's done in the rule book, so we're doing it the same way. Whatever. Steve doesn't like it. I'm indifferent about it. Here we go. So the design area. So the actions you have available, of course, is the train action, and of course you would spend shifts. So to start off, you have 2 shifts or 3 shifts in this location. If your meeple's here, you have 3 shifts you can use. If you so choose to use a bonus shift, a banked shift, you can do so up to a maximum of 4 shifts. You can only ever work 4 shifts, aka do 4 actions on your turn. So here, I'm starting off at 3. You have the train action, so I could train for 1, 2, 3, or 4 if I have the banked shift. Or you can choose to do a picking up of a design. So in this action here, the main one, you can choose any of these 8 designs that are here. If you choose any of these 4, doing so will net you the bonus that is associated with such. So I chose that guy. I got a book. And put it face down because I can't use it yet. Once you choose a design, you'll put it onto your board in one of your open spots. You must have an open and available area to place that design. I can then choose another design if I so choose. So I'm going to take this blue one here. Why not? Goes down like so. This is associated with the bank shift. So let's bank that shift up into that one spot. I have a 3rd shift available. I could take another design if I choose to. Instead, I'm going to train. So I train 1. Now, I started off at 0 bank shifts, right? I cannot use the 1 banked shift that I just earned. I can only use that on my next turn. And a way to keep track of that is this little tile that you have here. When you start your turn, puts on the 1 or the to side, or have it off to the side if you don't have any bank shifts available. At most, you'll only ever be able to use 2. Actually, you could use 3 if you're on that one spot, technically. So it's kind of interesting to have the 2 and 1. For the most part, you can usually, at the most, use 2. But use my 3. That's all I can do right now. However, the moment that I'm certified, so if my marker was down here past that arrow, I, of course, would unlock the certification on my board, which allows me to have another design section on there. And I have access to another action. This action means that I can choose to take a design from any of these stacks as well, from the very top of those, not only those 8. That's all it does. Once your turn is done in the design section, all of these will shift to the side, and you will refill those areas. The top section refills specifically from the top stack, the bottom from the bottom stack. Once those run out, you will then take from the top of the middle stack, filling up the top row first, and then the bottom row. That is the design sectional.
Yeah. So section 2 right here is your logistics or your car parts. So the way this works is at the beginning of the game, as you're doing cap hat, pack my cat, how yeah.
Cap hat.
At the beginning of the game, when you're setting up and doing player setup, each player has 3 goal cards or milestone cards, as well as 2 of these Kanban cards that is available for you to use.
Oh yeah, we didn't take this earlier, did we?
No, I just give it to you now. The way these cards work, similar to when we set up this area at the beginning, is you can play one of these cards in this section. So if my little meeple here is at the 3 spot, meaning I have 3 shifts, as Nick mentioned, we can do training. I'm not going to do training. I don't need to learn. I got Google.
I got Google.
You have 3 actions here, one of which you have to be certified to do. The other 2 are available whenever. So this action here is playing one of these cards. The way this works is you take the card, you place it down. You can place it this way or this way. And as you can see here, there's like a little setup where there's a gray line matching here, or the gray line matches there, and then this would slide in. You have to decide where you want it. So if I want to set it right here, whatever is below the gray line, if that symbol and color matches, the symbols go in. Same for the top. So on the top, green is on the top. You get 1 green. Tan is not on the top. Nothing happens. On the bottom, blue, not on the bottom. Nothing happens. Pink is, so pink gets 1. And then gray gets 2. Once you've laid out all of those, you take this card, put it at the bottom of the deck, and draw a second new card for yourself. So now you'll always have 2 of these cards. The second action you can take here in the logistics department is actually collecting these parts. So, as you can see, after I play the card and we have all these parts, I have 4 empty slots on my player board. I could take all 4 of these gray ones because they fit, but now I would have no room for any other color. I am going to do that, though, because there's a reason for it.
Nice.
So we're going to take all 4 of these. So that now fills my player board. So I have the original one I got to start the game. I now have the 4 others. What you can do at any point in your turn after this turn, so hypothetically, let's say I had one of these grays already. I can swap a gray doing this recycling action for any other color. I'll take your green.
I know you want to show them what you're doing.
Sure. There we go.
So we're in this section here. Swapping a gray. You want the green?
Yeah. So similar to what Nick said, usually these would start off to the side of my player board until my turn finishes. Then they go on. But let's say I had one of those grays. I can then recycle it to gather some new ones. So that helps you fill up the board by only using 1 shift and then cycle some colors. If I wanted to get rid of multiple of these grays, I cannot do that using the recycle action because there's already a gray there now.
Mm-hmm.
The third action here is if I was certified, I then get access to this, which means I can just get a wild card part. So the little parts token here that goes on your player board, you can do that. So, for example, blue, all of these except pink only have one, and gray has none. Let's say either I already had a full set on my player board and didn't have space for any more, or I saw that these were all ones anyway. You're better off taking this because it's a wild, and you can change your mind later on versus having to keep the color that you chose. And that's all that happens here. If
I was saying, we're to note for those, you'll see a ×1 here and there. That means those can only be done once per turn.
Yep. The last thing, unlike the section where Nick reloaded, I took all these grays. You do not reload the gray with anything.
Right.
If another player then plays their own card that doesn't have gray on it, and adds it, that's fine, but you will not add or change anything on this based on what you've taken.
Mm-hmm.
Moving up one more, we have all of the cars. So for this whole department here, you don't have as many actions as you can see below. You really only have one action available to you. This here is an always in effect. So when you enter this location, if any of these 5 cars are filled, you automatically take all of them, add it back to the bank supply of generic use. If there's 3 out of 4 in this one, you don't touch it, only if it's filled. This action here is your only action outside of training. What this action says is take a car part, which is on your player board, and place it in a car. Let's say I put it here for red. You then slide this red up, this red over. This gray, you can slide anywhere there's arrows. So I can slide it into the green and move the green up, or I can just move it up myself right here. As soon as this truck or any of the cars crosses the line, you gain that amount of points. So let's say I was trying to go for maximum points. I would move the green up because the 2 is right there. Once you've done that for your first shift, you fill this in with the appropriate color of car. Boom, red. So now red is available. The one thing that doesn't really apply to a 2-player game but would apply, let's say, a 4-player game, there's a limit to how many cars there are.
Yep.
So for red, actually all of them have 8. Once all 8 are on the board, you don't fill this in if they're already out. If they're all on the player boards and there's no more remaining, you just don't have any more of that car available. So in a 2-player game, pretty impossible unless someone just grabs 5 of the same car, which is so crazy to even happen.
No. I don't think either of us have built 5 cars.
I was one sure I have 4. Yeah.
Still, I didn't build 5.
That's true. So that is literally just one shift.
Yep.
So now there's 2 rules in place when you do this action. Rule number 1, I placed a gray here. I cannot place another gray here. You have to place a different color in all of those for this specific car. I can place a gray over here on the gray on literally the truck to help move that, or on the green and help move the green out. I just cannot play within the same area. The second rule is if there is upgrades on the map over here. So as you can see here, there's a pink upgrade on the concept car all the way in the corner. I cannot go place a gray here because there's nothing there. I have to place the upgraded part, which is pink, first. You move your cars, boom, 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 and add a black. Nick's making my life more difficult. I've now filled the pink. There's still a green there. I still have to cover the green before I can play a gray. I happen to have a green. Boom. I could do that. That is only for the black concept car. It does not impact the other 4. Each of these have their own thing. Those are individually based on any upgrades on that car.
Every time.
2 for 2.
Every time.
So, let's say, for my 3 moves, I just did 2 of them to move those along. And let's just say, for the purpose of this, I did this instead. Because this will be the last example of what you can do in this area. So let's say for my 2 moves, I did that. For my 3rd move, because I have 3 shifts available, I'm going to do one more. I can do this now. That is legal. I move this up, and out. Gray truck fills in. This red now crossed this line. I would get 1 VP. Or
PP.
there.
Production point.
I also match the color of this token. I get to collect this indicator and then fill in on my game board. This one only had 1 available. The top one you can see has 3. As soon as all of the speech bubbles are gone, this tile comes off the board, a new tile goes on, and you put in however many speech bubbles are in the corner, go down. So this is always cycling. And this is not to the player who built the car or upgraded the car. This is just the player who moved the car from the assembly line to R&D. And it's going to take the track over. It's going to crash into that garage door that's there. I don't know why they put a door in the middle of the track and didn't put a bridge over it.
I don't know. Anyways, yeah.
And it makes it there. 4, that position over there always goes behind the pace car, or if there's another car behind the pace car, it goes in the next spot. If by some crazy positioning, especially in a larger game of players, all of these 5 spots were filled, and you put a new car, the car behind the pace car gets yeeted, and you fill it in. So you can build more cars than available, but one of those cars will disappear.
Yeah, you only have 4 cars behind the pace car at all times. Once the 5th is built, the one behind the pace car goes.
Yes. And that is the end of this section.
Yeah.
And we move over to R&D.
Chunky. All right. So R&D, you got your design, you got your parts, you got your car built. Now, after you test it, you get on the road.
That was ironically perfect. That's ironically perfect.
The red one, yeah.
I didn't intend that. I just did it because of that.
Hilarious. So, in R&D, you are taking your car. So, the first action, of course, that you have on here, like everyone, is that training action. The next you have is actually taking a car off this track. If you take a car from right behind the pace car, it costs you 1 of your shifts. If you're taking a car that is 2 behind, it costs you 2. 3 behind, cost you 2. 4 cost you 3. So 1, 2, 2, 3 denoted right there. So you can take your car, but to do so, you have to have the matching design of any kind. Doesn't matter what kind of part is listed on the side, you need to have a matching design. You're going to discard this design to the bottom of the central pile here in the design area, and then you will take your car, after you've collected all your cars, and you'll put it somewhere in your garage. So word of note, you will do this for every car you're going to take first, collect them down here before you put them on your board. I'm only taking the 1, so I'm going to choose where to put it. It can only go in one of the 4 open areas until I unlock this 5th one. I'm going to put it right here in number 3. When you put it there, you will gain the benefit associated with the tile that is located there. This is 2 books. So I'm going to flip that over. I'll take 2 books. Put those bad boys off to the side. I can't use them quite yet. And you do that for each car that you would have built in that turn. Remember, you only have 4 shifts in total you can use. So now I built the red car. Something else I can do, even if my red car wasn't built, is upgrade a design. Question?
You got to move the pace car and everything during the...
Oh, you're right. I forgot about the pace car. For each car you take, you move the pace car ahead by 1. I took 1 red car, I moved the pace car ahead by 1. That's where it starts.
Yes.
If the pace car gets all the way around to this striped area, that means that a meeting will end up happening at the end. So take that meeting token, put it over there. Now, we have the upgrade section. After, Jesus. If there was another car on here, those cars would fill in right behind the pace car. So if there were more cars on there, you can put more cars on there. It would also fill in.
Yeah.
So every empty spot fills in much like the design area. And now we have the upgrades for you. So upgrading a part or design is very simple. You have to have the part associated with the design. You use 1 shift to do this. You just flip over this tile and you put it off to the side over here on the right in your upgraded section. The part will go onto the design board. on the design board up here on the associated section. Earlier we spoke about the black car, concept car, getting this pink one. I'm upgrading the red one, so I'm going to put this blue part on any of these 6 spots. I'm going to put it right here on the bank shift, which means I will get that bonus of banking a shift. Now, because I have the red car made, it is now a tested design immediately as well. So it's going to go here. Regardless if the design is tested or not, you will get the 2 VP for upgrading it. Boom.
PP.
PP. I keep saying VP. You get 2 PP for upgrading it, and that's the same for every design. Once it's tested, however, you will
get nothing else.
Get nothing else.
Yeah.
Right now. But upgrading also increases, this tracker up here on the board. So upgrading design flips over the design token, hit the spend the part, goes over to the right to start, increase your part marker up this track by 1. If you have the car built for it, it goes there as a tested design. Jesus.
Yeah, and for both getting the cars from R&D to your player board, as well as upgrading, not necessarily testing your design, but upgrading that part, you are eligible for the goals along the left-hand side.
Correctamundo. Once you have whatever matches here, so it says 2, so if I happened to upgrade this blue one as well, it does not have to be... Huh?
That's owning.
I know that. I know, but there's 2 here also. Sorry. So it does not have to be a test design. Once I have 2 upgrades, I can take this to upgrade token. If I happened to take one of these other 2 cars, let's say I took the green one and that was on here, then I would take this 2 marker. Once you have 5, you take the 5, so on and so forth.
Yep.
Put those on there. Boom, 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 boom. Once you are certified over here in R&D, that unlocks which, boy, you find the picture, and nope, it's the double upgrade. So the double upgrade tile that you unlock on your board is a one-time use. So when doing the upgrade action, let's say I had this blue guy down here, right? So I'm going to do the upgrade action. We'll say I had a part for it. And actually, you know what? I'll use my part voucher. So we have a part voucher, which is a wild. So you cash that in. I'm doing this upgrade for the blue. I'm going to put this onto whatever, banking. And boom. I'm going to also use this double upgrade tile, which is a one-time use. So you flip it over, showing that it's been used. So what this does is this advances twice, and this token flips over. And then instead of scoring the 2 VPP, instead of scoring the 2 PP on the upgrade, you score the PP associated with that location immediately. So that would be 4. Don't count our PP. We know it's not correct. These are examples. But that's it for R&D. So you have buying cars. You have to have the design before you take the car off there. You pay shifts equal to the location. So 1, 2, 2, 3 from behind the pace car. After doing so, advance the pace car number of spaces based on the number of cars you bought, and then move every additional car up behind the pace car so it fills in the gaps. And then you can upgrade your designs, whether or not you have those vehicles in your garages. If you upgrade them, they go over here to the side. You have to have the part to do so. Place the part, gain the benefit, gain the PP associated with the upgrade. If you have the car in your garage, place that upgrade above the car because it is a tested design. Woo.
Yep.
Good chunk in R&D. So, bunch of different spaces. There's one more left.
Yes.
That's administration.
Yeah. So let's just say that this was the setup. So Nick just finished his turn right here. He just did everything he explained.
Yep.
It would now be Sandra's turn. And let's say on Sandra's turn, she was here, and let's just say she moved into here. So what that would do is it triggers one of Sandra's actions. We'll get to those in a moment. But I get to go first now. So Sandra comes down in administration. She'll do her normal action of like checking something, but then it'll come to my action.
Something.
There's an end of week scoring thing we'll get to in a second. For my action here in administration, I can do a few things. Again, training. we have training and administration. If you do unlock that upgrade on your board, that does give you an additional thought bubble. So that pops right off right there.
It's popping off.
Then you have this. What this indicates here is you can split your actions. So you can use your shifts, and you only have 2 here. 1 or 2 is unlike the 2 or 3 above. So you can pay for training, or you can pick one of the other 4 sections, regardless if it's filled with players or not, and do actions there. So if I knew, for example, that Nick was here and Sandra was there, I'm like, crap, I really wanted that truck. I can't go there and do it. It's already taken. I can come down to administration and utilize that R&D phase through administration. I just get 1 less shift available. The only caveat is you can't go and be like, hey, I'm going to go do this, move a car over there for 1 shift, and then go do that one for a different shift. You can only pick one of these 4. You can use multiple shifts there, but you can only go in that one department region. Once your turn's over, you have to move out, so you can't just redo administration over and over again. But there is definitely some benefits to being able to go here and move things around. Now, once each player is gone in this fashion as we have it designed right here, Nick triggered the meeting. Sandra also triggered something. So we'll go through Sandra's actions first in each of these locations, and then explain how the meeting and end of week scoring work.
Yeah. I'm going to give you this. I'm going to set up a little example. So if you want to just put that over in your upgrade section for green. And then if you can hand me a red. Sure.
Oh, I know what you mean. No.
It doesn't matter. Either's fine. It's mainly for my board.
Okay. So, for Sandra, she starts in administration. She's going to go top to bottom. So, unlike us, where we're most likely going to go bottom to top as we have to get a design, get parts, and whatnot, she's going to go the reverse. So, on turn 1, she doesn't move. Turn 2, she moves to the top. If both these spaces were filled, she would move down to the next available space. But this one's open. At each of these 5 locations, she does 2 things. Number 1 is she is going to check for certain requirements. Number 2, she does her own action in that location. So, for Sandra, she is going to evaluate. So she's going to decide who is lower. In this case, it's orange, which happens to be Nick.
Of course.
So she's going to look to Nick. If 2 people were tied like they are here,
she's going to scowl at me.
She'll go after both of them. So for Nick, she's going to go and do a check. The benefit is, 1, it explains it on this little token card here. You also have a player aid that gives you all of the tasks we discussed already. And on the back, it gives you all of Sandra's. So literally just going through Sandra's actions, she's going to look, do you have 3 or more completed upgrades? Nick,
I do.
Happens to be lucky enough to do that. So it doesn't have to be tested designs. It just has to be upgrades. So 1, 2, 3. So in this case, nothing will happen. I was farther ahead. She does not evaluate me. In this specific location, she also goes through and advances the pace car. And the people behind it, yes. If the pace car triggered a meeting because of her actions, and let's say I am then, or Nick is then there, and it triggers again, you don't trigger 2 meetings. You only trigger 1. So you could bypass it twice, depending on how it works, but you only trigger it once. Moving down 1. Here, where all the cars are, she's going to evaluate again. Nick and I are both tied. She's going to evaluate both of us. Here, she's going to check if you have 3 or more cars in your garage. Nick has 3. I fell asleep at the wheel and have none because I crashed all my cars.
Let you just take the wheel. It didn't work.
Because no one was at the wheel because he doesn't exist.
Oh, no. Uh-oh.
I was on too much LSD.
Oh.
So here, Nick is fine. She evaluates me. I get hit. What happens is this red line here. I lose 1 automatically because I failed the evaluation. Then she looks down at this track here. I'm at 2. You take the number in red, which is 5, subtract the number you have, 2, so 3. I would lose 3 more.
Ouch.
It doesn't matter if at the beginning of the turn I had 5, I had 4, let's say, and then used 2. If I use 2 before Sandra's action, it goes by where it is right now. In this location, Sandra then says, we don't need parts. We're going to get rid of all these. So she gets rid of all parts. They go back to the general supply. This actually is the only location, in my opinion, that's beneficial. Because it could make, if you don't have upgrades, it could make your life easier because now you can play the same color again
or
that you couldn't play before.
Or it makes it more difficult because she cleared out the upgraded parts that were
Potentially,
there.
yeah. So if there's no upgrades early in the game, it works well.
Yeah.
If there is upgrades, it might not work so well.
Later in the game, it kind of screws you.
Third location, our logistics board. So for the logistics board, she's going to, again, evaluate. Purple is higher, so I'm clear. She's going to evaluate Nick and identify, does Nick have 3 or more car parts?
Nope.
He does not. Same thing. He'll lose 1. It'll then go down here. Let me move my things to unshut. He'll lose 2 more. 1, 2. I moved them so people could see.
You moved my things.
The deficit of her action here is she's going to remove all duplicates. So anything that had 2 or more, she's going to make it go down to 1. The gray had 0. She does not add 1 to make it fair. 0 stays at 0. Moving on. The fourth location. Fourth location is probably the most detrimental if you have a strategy in mind. Here, again, she's going to evaluate. Nick is farther ahead. She's going to evaluate me and identify how many designs do I have on my board. If I had 3 or more, I'd be safe. I only have 1. So same thing. We would decrease that down there. Her action here is to not touch the piles, but to clear all 8 in a 2-player game, only these 4 in a 3 or 4-player game. So all of those will get cleared. They'll go to the bottom of the stack. However, Nick cleared things.
Doesn't matter. Goes in the middle.
It doesn't matter, but it's okay.
Doesn't matter. They're over in the middle anyway. You shuffle that in the middle.
Well, you didn't shuffle. That's okay. And then refill them in.
This matters.
Yeah, unlike you did earlier.
This matters.
So then you refill them in. So this could definitely play a positive or negative role. If what you need wasn't there, this might put it there. If what you need was there, it's gone now and you have to wait for it to all cycle back through. The final location she has is administration. Again, she's going to come down to the office. You still can't move into here, but I was already here. It's fine. Let's say Nick and I were both here. She can move into the office still. If Nick and I were right here and she was here, she would not move into any of these. There's no space for her. She would move on to the next location. But because there's an office in the administration section, she can move in. For this, her check, again, right here, she's going to evaluate how many upgraded locations you have, which are called certifications, yes. So certification, Nick has 1 here, I have 1 here, and 1 here. That's 2 to his 1. Doesn't matter. Both are less than 3. We both get hit. So those would go down yet again. Once you run out of PP, you don't go to negative 1.
You don't go to negative PP.
Yeah, it doesn't retract inside you.
Oh my God.
So if you get, let's say you're at 1 and you have to go -5, you just go to 0, and then you can hopefully work your way back. The last thing she does here for action is trigger a meeting. It's an end of week meeting, end of week scoring. She's not triggering a meeting. It's end of week scoring. For end of week scoring, that would happen after all actions. So again, in this example, if Nick was here, she moved in here, I would still get to do my actions here before she actually finishes that. All of the other locations, it happens on her turn instantaneously. This is the only one that waits until everyone has finished their movement. So Nick, what happens with scoring here?
All right, so end of week scoring can be a little confusing. So pay attention. For every car that you have. All right. So I'm going to come down to my board here. We'll start there.
Sure.
So I have 2 reds and a green, which means I'm scoring for the red cars and the green cars.
He's a bald Santa Claus.
First up, you score for every upgrade for the associated cars. So I have 2 reds and 1 green. Remember that. Let's go to the board. Okay, on the board here, for the red car, there is 1 upgrade. I score 1 PP for this upgrade for each red car. So that means I would get 2 points. For the green car that I have, there is also 1 here. I only have 1 green car, which means I score this once. So 1 more PP. That's the first step. Next, we're looking at tested designs. Okay, so for the red car, I have 1 tested design. These upgraded designs over here don't count. They're not tested quite yet. So for this 1 tested design, I count this for each car that matches. That means this is 1 and 2. So I get 2 more points there. All right. So that is it. So now you're saying, okay, but you have these upgraded designs over here. You upgraded the blue. Unfortunately, because I don't have a blue car, I don't get to take the blue points on the board associated with such. These are just here. They'll come into play at the end game, but not right now. If I have a blue car, I could count those points like I just did. All right? So if you have to rewatch that, rewatch it. You're scoring points for each car, and the rule book is a very good example of this. It's very clear. Read it a couple times. You'll get it. Could be the difference for you.
Sure. So now this would go for all players.
Correct.
So for my side, I have a red car. I don't have the tested design on it, so I'm not going to get points for a tested design. I also is not the one to upgrade the parts for this because Nick has the tested design. I still get the points though.
Correct.
So up on the board, because red is upgraded with that blue part, I still get that 1 point.
Yep.
So in a 2-player game, if you both have the same cars, let's say you both have 1 red, you're going to get the same points for the first part of this. In a 3 or 4-player game, that's where it's going to vary because you have 2 players with the same car, the third won't.
Yep.
Most likely have that same car.
Yeah, and then that was how the green car was able to get that 1 point here because Steve has the upgrade over there even though he doesn't have a car for it.
Sure.
So, gotta pay attention to that.
So that kind of plays in. No, don't necessarily upgrade unless you need it for a goal if your opponent has that car.
Or
like you don't want them to get points.
If somebody's gone in and really went in on the upgrades, all you need to do really is
get the car.
Get the car.
Yeah.
Yeah. Enjoy it. All right. That's all the end of week scoring is.
So,
pretty simple. Once it's done, boop, you'll shift that up by 1. All right. And you start over. Here, though, we had the pace car hit one of these striped sections. When this happens, this guy immediately comes down here. When the day has finished, like it just did, there will be a meeting that happens.
According to this, all meetings happen on Fridays.
Yeah, I see that.
Which, whoever thought of that, we hate you because that's the worst day for meetings.
That is a very bad day.
No one wants meetings on a Friday, especially after lunch.
Don't have them on Mondays. Don't have them on Fridays. Don't have them on Tuesday.
Or Wednesday or Thursday.
Just don't have it. Just don't have it.
Monday before lunch, Friday after lunch. It definitely knows.
No. Just don't. Not Monday or Friday at all.
Well, I always have a Monday like huddle. It's like start of week. Like make sure. Like I don't do it at like 8 a.m. No, thank you.
No. So during a meeting, you're going to be placing your speech tokens onto these performance cards over here to score points or to block people from scoring points.
It's true.
And this does happen in a very specific order. We're going to come back over here to the certification tokens. The order in which you get to place your tokens on these cards is in the certification order.
This
Again,
is awesome.
From right to left. So Steve gets to place his tokens down first. So he can place it on any of the bubbles on any of these cards, whether he meets those qualifications or not. Would you like to place one on any of those?
No.
No?
I have a hand.
He's not going to place them on any of those. So we're going to say, you know what? Steve decides to pass. That's okay.
Can't.
You can pass.
No, you can't.
Yes, you can.
You can't pass before you play card.
Yes, you can.
No, you can't. Read the rules.
Okay, fine, whatever. So just put one on there. Then help me out here. Jesus Christ, make this more difficult for me.
I know.
Put one on. You can't pass until you put a card down. There's a reason for that.
Okay. I'm going to place one on this, number 26.
Okay.
26, and there's a whole group of them that do the same thing, looks at the different departments.
Mhm.
This one specifically is the administration. So if you have that certification, you would gain 4 pay.
And only Steve can gain that because there's only the one speech token area to do so.
That is true.
So then I would go and choose to place one down as well. So I'm going to put one down on this area. I'm going to put it on the 3x. This means for every certification you have, you can score up to 3 times and you'll get 3 PP for doing so. I don't have 3 certifications unlocked. I only have 1 unlocked. That's okay. I'm putting it on the 3 so nobody else can put it on the 3, but I only score it once. So I would get 3 PP. 1, 2, 3 for my 1 certification that I matched. Now, okay. So it continues around and around until somebody passes, until both people pass. But before you can pass, as Steve just mentioned, as you're shifting cards, you have 3 of these performance cards in your hand. Each person, before they pass, is required to at least put one of these down on the table, adding to those 4. When they put this down, they can also choose to put one of their speech tokens on there and score points at the same time. This is the only time you can do 2 actions at once in this phase. So I played a card, I put the speech token down. This one was by accident, but it has to be for my speech token. So it's 3 times 3, which would be 9 more points. Move me 9 PP, please. You do not have to put a speech token down. So if I played this card, I could stop right there. You're not passing your turn. You're just playing the card, and then it would go to Steve. But I chose to play the speech token. So on to you.
Yes. So now this, I'll play the one out of my hand. It's a better example if this was on the board, but we'll play it on my hand. And actually, let's just say for the example, I didn't have any cars. This here is red, car specific, 1 or 2. I only have 1 red car. Actually, yeah, we'll use my example. I have 1 red car. Nick has...
I have no cars. I only have 1 car.
Nick has 2 red cars.
Yep.
I can play this here. I only get credit for 1 because that's all I have.
Yep.
But now Nick cannot play it on the 2x. Mm-hmm. So I'll get 4 PP. If he had a thought bubble, he'd probably play it on that as well to at least get 4 for himself.
I do have a thought bubble, and I will get 4 for myself. What Steve was going to say originally was if he had no cars, like if he didn't have the red car, he would still put it on that 2 mark just to block me from getting points. So again, for all of these cards, you do not have to be able to score points to put your speech token on there. You can do so purely to stop somebody else from being able to put theirs on there.
Yes.
Now, these speech tokens you're putting on there do have to be ones that are unlocked on your board, FYI.
So now I have played 2. I have no more to play. I'll pass.
Yep. You can only play 1 card from your hand. You cannot play multiple, but you do have to play 1. So mine is down. I have 2 more speech tokens left. I'm going to save those. I'm also going to pass. Once both people or all your players have passed consecutively, you will clear the board. You'll get rid of all the cards, take your tokens back as you go off to the side of your board. You will then choose 1 of your cards remaining in your hand. Put it face down. If you're playing a 2-player game, you will fill in 2 more from the deck. Then each person will get 2 more cards for their hand.
And you'll
flip those over.
Yeah, don't play your card face up. Definitely play it face down until everything is settled in so it doesn't impact what your opposing player will play.
A word on passing. If you pass and the other player or players do not, when it comes back to you, you can choose to play a speech token again. Passing does not mean that you are done for the meeting. It just means in that round of playing speech tokens, you chose not to.
Yeah.
So if you pass, you're not done for. So you could potentially pass to throw someone off and then comes back to you like, all right, fine, I'll play another one. Got it. So anyway, it'll end once everyone has passed consecutively for the round. You've done your cleanup. At this point in time, if you did any generic speech tokens, those would cash in, and you would get your regular speech tokens back.
Yeah. One strategy there, which I kind of used a little bit last game, was if, let's say, you only have 2 speech tokens, and none of the 4 out here benefit you. You can play the one out of your hand right off the bat, because you have to play that before you pass. Once you've played that, you can just keep passing because you know the other players have to play a card from their hand.
Yep.
They can't play and then pass. They have to go full circle. And you can hopefully get points off of one of their cards.
Yeah. Yeah, very smart. Yeah, I definitely held my card back until the last second to play it because I wanted to make sure I want you to exhaust your tokens before I put my card down because all the ones I have would benefit you.
Exactly.
So definitely some strategy in this meeting on how you converse and choose to use your speech tokens. And once the meeting is complete, the token goes back up here like Steve just did. This would advance by 1, and you would start a new round of play.
Yeah. So now we get to the point of finding a winner. So let's say we played through a bunch of rounds. We had a bunch of cars. We had some upgrades and everything else associated. So let's take some of these and do some of this.
A little bit of that. A little bit of this. Okay. Okay.
So now
my Lanta.
This token down here is at the 3 mark. That means we've had 3 end of game scoring triggers by Sandra. The top left one is at 2, meaning there's been 2 meetings. Once all of the end of week scoring, all of the meetings are done for that round, it automatically goes into end game scoring. So you get to finish your final turn. So if, for example, the meeting triggered, obviously the meeting doesn't happen until everyone finishes their turn anyway, that would then finalize, you move on. If for endgame scoring or end of week scoring and a meeting triggered on the same turn, you would then just go through both of them back to back. It doesn't necessarily matter the order.
This would always happen first because this happens at the end of the day.
That's true. So end of week scoring would happen here. Then the meeting would happen. You'd clear out the cards, then move on to final scoring. So final scoring, there's a bunch of bullet points. Similar to most Lacerda games, it's all listed on the player aid. It's listed in the rule book. There are tiebreakers in case you tie.
Sorry, just to be very, very clear, the end of game trigger is this at 2 and this at 3 at least, or this at 2 and this at 3 at least. They could potentially both be at 3, but if these are both at 2, you play until one of them hits 3. Just want to be really clear.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good. So for end of game scoring, once you get to end of game scoring, you're going to follow these exact steps. Step 1 is this final scoreboard in the bottom right corner. Again, there's a whole graphic that explains what this board means. So we're going to go through, and both in player order, it doesn't really matter because everybody can play on every one. Any thought bubbles you have unlocked, you can play. So you'll go through and identify, what do I have that I want to play on?
Damn, I only have one.
And let's just say I have that one.
Sure.
Nope, I don't even have that one. Let's just do that. So for this, you play it all out. All players would do so. You would then look. So this one here says you have 3 upgrades completed.
Oh, they equal each other.
That are the same upgraded parts. So looking over Nick's board, he has 3 blue upgrades all of a sudden. It was magical. He would then gain 7 pay. Goes up to 46.
Nice.
For this one, it says I need 4 vehicles that are not equal. I, on my player board, have 4 that are not equal. So I would go up 8. Nope,
Pay.
There we go.
I was like, what? 8. I was like, yeah, it's 8.
For the final one here, neither of us put a thought bubble down, but this is you had to have the certification for both of these 2 locations.
Speech token and thought bubble are the same thing, by the way.
No. It looks like a thought bubble.
No, I get it.
So
yeah.
So that's the first part of endgame scoring. The second part, following the list, is for your shifts banked. So I happen to have 8 shifts banked. Nick has 3. So he gets 3. I get 8. Boom. Next goes down to your player board. So you're going to count your spare parts here, your books.
Vouchers. Yeah.
Yep, your book vouchers, as well as your...
part vouchers. That's spare part. Part vouchers. Yeah.
Wilds. Yeah.
This and that. Yeah, your books.
Yes, the books, as well as speech tokens remaining.
Mm-hmm.
So, because you finished your meeting, you got speech tokens back. If you had white ones, you could have refilled them in. They can still now earn points. So, don't necessarily use them all up. So, Nick here has 2 plus 4, so 6.
Mm-hmm.
So, boom. I, on my board, have 1 and 2. Boom, boom.
And you'll see on the board they're denoted with the symbol of the Pepe.
Yeah, around the game board, anything that's in blue is active during the game, so automatically those trigger pay points. Anything that's in gold, as you can see here, and some other places, are end game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice that it is very differentiated on the board.
Yep.
Third thing is going to be your cars. So you're going to go to your garage and see what cars you have. Right above your speech bubbles, speech token,
almost.
It tells you what the value is. So I have 1 red, that's worth 5. I have 1 gray truck, that's worth 4, so 9. 1 blue, 12, 14. So I would go from 37 to 51. Nick.
And I have 2 reds and a green, so 5, 5, and 2 is 12.
Boom. So you move that along the board.
Yep.
Next up, you're going to go based on your departmental track. So that is these 5 tracks. As you've done training throughout the game, you'll move along. So what you'll do is it shows it on each one, 5, 3, and 1. If you are split up like Nick and I are here, whoever's further ahead gets 5, second place would get 3. If you're on top of each other, it's literally who's on top. You don't want to be a bottom in this game. So the top player would get the 5, the bottom would get the 3.
Not there, though. No, you need to be certified. That's why I did that.
Oh. So here, everyone gets 0. Yes, it's only for certified. That's why the certified area is highlighted in white. These are in gray.
Yeah.
So let's just count through. So here, I'm further ahead. I get 5. Here, I get 5. There is 0. Here, I get 5. Here, I get 5. Nick gave me 20 points. I'll take it.
That's fine.
If we count Nick's, 0, 0, 0, 0, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Close game, 1 point.
Yeah. Did that
by accident.
The very final scoring is based on tested designs.
Oh.
So what you do is you go through and identify on your player board what designs you have tested. And can't do that. I wish I could. Just screw us up. You identify what designs you have tested. So I have a green tested design. Green means nothing. It's all based on the part color. So I have the maroon part color. You'll look up there. That's worth 2. 1, 2. Nick has blue. He has 2 blue over here. Those aren't tested. Those are upgraded. These do not count for anything. So you go to the blue one, identify on the board, and that's 4.
That's hilarious. That entirely by accident.
Yeah. And that's it. So again, you just add all of those things up. This little board will literally go through step by step exactly what I just explained.
Yep.
Very simple. If at the end there is a tie, there's like 3 tiebreakers in the book.
Yep.
And from there, you have now won the game and you're better than Tesla.
You've now Kanban. Yes, no. There's a lot of point salad. So throughout the game, you're going to be getting points potentially, doing different things. But like most of Lacerda's games, endgame is where it all comes together. So really, the entire game, you're playing for endgame. During the game, you're playing to try and get a little lead as much as you can, but you're trying to get ready for those endgame goals or whatever it is. Like here, this obviously happened by accident of us kind of moving stuff around to show you examples, but this is a very real example of what could happen. Where somebody
happened, but
where one person is way ahead, the other person catches up and ends up 1 point ahead. And then that last little ticker puts that person one ahead again. So you don't really know how it's going to end. Very similar to like Dwellings of Eldervale or anything else where you have a bunch of end game scoring. So got to pay attention to all of that. Like we just went through, there's 6 different end game scoring scenarios that go down. So
yeah, definitely. If you have this game, get it on the table. It's worth the play. There's a lot of strategy involved. There's a lot of different strategies you can partake in.
Yeah.
So if you watch our playthrough video, you'll see Nick takes an early lead. I take kind of a deficit at the beginning, but it doesn't mean I'm out of the game.
No.
Because of endgame scoring, I could be saving it all up for the end. Just because you're advancing, earning different things on the board, especially down here on this track, doesn't mean it's going to be enough for all of the goals that could be tallied at the end.
Yeah, in the first game we played off stream, I had a lead on Steve.
Of like 20, 30.
Right, a big chunk. And then end game scoring, he blew me out of the water.
Yeah.
Purely because I didn't have that engine set up at the very end to win. I had points during the game, some at the end, but nothing that really banked in on what was really there. So get to the table, play it. Thank you for watching this how to play. Definitely still read through the rule book. This how to play is structured in the same order as the rule book. If you want to kind of follow this along with it, we try to do that for you so it's easy for you to find the parts where you may have some confusion if you need to hear it a different way. I think also one of the best ways to learn how to play is to watch it actually played as well. So definitely check out our playthrough. If you're watching this the moment it goes up, the playthrough will be up in a couple hours for you. If you are watching this at a later point, we have a whole playlist for all of our playthroughs. So go ahead and find it in there.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, it is a lot, but still a fun game.
It's a Lacerda game. It's a lot. You know what you're getting yourself into.
If you don't have any Lacerda games, if you wait about 3 weeks, we will be giving a rating of the 8 games we've played for Vital Lacerda. On difficulty, strategy, how the game plays, how it looks, all of that. Yep. So we'll give a nice thorough review of all 8 games and kind of rank them. So you can see which ones we enjoyed. Doesn't mean you might not enjoy others, but at least know what Bald and Board thought of it.
Yeah, and if you're looking to get into Kanban EV but it looks intimidating, you can start with Bot Factory, which is Kanban EV but simplified. Same structure in regard to the different areas you go to perform actions, as well as even Sandra coming in and causing a problem every once in a while.
She's everywhere.
Less of so. Yeah, that's his AI person. But Bot Factory is an easy entry level into a Lacerda game, especially if you're planning on getting into Kanban. Start with Bot Factory, learn that, play that, have fun. It's easy to jump into. It'll make learning this easier as well.
Perfect.
Any last words?
Nah.
All right.
Good.
Well, thank you for joining us here at Bald and Board Games. This is a how to play of Kanban EV by Vital Lacerda and Eagle Griffin Games. I'm Bald.
I'm Bored.
Get to work.